And we're back in the cabin. We are back in the cabin. And it is my pleasure to be sitting and talking in this room on May 1st, 2025 at 11:54 a.m. And this room lets a lot of light in. And I have a lot of plants in this room that have been here for a while now in some cases. And I check on them and I water them and I think about them when I'm not in this room. So there's a connectivity there automatically. My nervous system knows what it feels like to walk into this room, and it feels like sometimes. Sometimes there's clutter in here. Sometimes I haven't watered the plants in a little too long. Sometimes I have so much happening inside of my skin that the act of walking into this room is not really enough to impact my nervous system the way that I want it to, the way that it feels like it does sometimes, the way it feels when it's pleasurable to feel that feeling in my body. And right now, there is a lot of clutter in here, just to be transparent. Transparency is one of my personal goals. It's something that I have chosen, I have decided is valuable. And so I want to offer it. I want to just offer it. What my experience as a human person is even like. Because it wasn't always like it is now. When I was a younger person, my experience felt really scary and confusing and didn't really feel like mine. It felt like it belonged outside of me and that I was in a role of performance and expectations and manners and normal things that we all deal with because we exist in a society, or I guess we like to say that we do. We like to think that we do. And the society that I was aware of as a younger person did not vibe well with my nervous system. So it felt really confusing and it felt scary and it felt just overwhelming and eventually kind of annoying. And that was just part of my experience. And there are reasons why that don't matter to any of you, but I bet you could think of some. I bet you could think of some of your own that maybe gave you some of that same flavor of experience. But for me, here in this room right now, the reasons why don't matter to me. They don't matter anymore because I have decided that they're not actually that important to be able to move forward from them. They those experiences that informed my nervous system were real. They were important because my body took them in and held them so tightly that my shape changed. And it made like my shoulders really tight and it made my hips kind of weird and it made my face into a mask. And I noticed that at some point. I noticed that this was happening to me and slowly have been redesigning what's going on inside of me for my own pleasure, for my own benefit, for my own ability to be a successful organism in my life so that I could do the things. We all have things to do. So we got to be able to do the things. Intention helps a lot. Doing the things that I choose to do for my own reasons. Children don't have a lot of options to make those kinds of decisions, to exercise that kind of agency. Often, right? Children have a role in society and they have like, you know, school to go to and they're at the mercy of the larger structure that is around them as far as caregivers and resources and all of that stuff. We understand that. We understand that. So a lot of us learn really young. A lot of us learn before we even had language to talk about what it is that we're experiencing. We learned how to behave, how to be, only in context with what's outside of us. And hopefully, ideally, we learn that there is an inside as we grow, as we develop, as our body develops the ability to roll and crawl and reach and explore and notice details of our environment. And our psychology evolves along with that. Hopefully, those things happen together so that we can end up in a place that works, that functions, that is well resourced, that is comfortable and pleasant because our observational experience of personhood is sitting right in the middle of it. And we're experiencing a body, and we're experiencing a nervous system, and we're experiencing all kinds of stuff that's going on out here. And the psychological experience of that is not the same thing as the physical brain that's happening in here. The brain is continuous with all of this, but there is a psychology at work that is continuous with all of this. So that's a lot of information. It's a lot of information for anybody. And we have to learn how to absorb that, how to process it, how to receive it in the body with the senses, because that's the equipment that we have to receive information about our experience, whether it's coming from external surroundings, whether it's coming from internal space, felt experience. And it's going to be both, right? Because the body and everything else exists simultaneously. So we're always getting information from a lot of sources. And our physical brain only has so much capacity to process all of that. And that's going to fluctuate. That's going to fluctuate always, because everything does. It's the spoons thing, right? Some days we're all charged up. Some days we're not. Now, if it feels confusing to be able to understand and even anticipate why some days you're charged up and why some days you're not, there are ways to understand this mechanism more skillfully, because it's a mechanism. It's a machine. It's clockwork. And yet, sometimes it feels overwhelming and confusing and mysterious. It does. Hmm, it does. Sometimes the room gets cluttered. Sometimes the room gets cluttered, and sometimes the plants are thirsty, and sometimes you just didn't sleep very well last night, and sometimes your body is hurting and it's so loud that it's distracting. Sometimes your heart is hurting and it's so loud that it's distracting. Sometimes your brain is hurting and it's so loud that it's distracting. But bring it down. Let it out. Let it flow. Let it settle. Whenever you can. Whenever you're in a safe space. Whenever you've given what your body needs to yourself to feel a little bit more okay than you were a moment ago. And you can hold yourself. And you can give yourself that support, that warmth, that reassurance. And you can experiment with it and notice how it moves. That's it. And just notice how it moves because it moves like waves. And that you can count on because everything is energy. All of this is energy. The activation of response is energy. The conscious or unconscious repression of response is also energy. And we've got activating energy and we've got repressing energy. And you've seen me do this little gesture before because that's how it works. And I get agitated because I want everyone to know this. I want everyone to understand this. And I want to talk about it with you. And it's all in here. So breathe and exhale. Let go. And find a safe space that you can sit or lay down or roll on the floor or get on your hands and knees and do yoga things. I don't care what you do. You probably care. Energy flows, energy's got to move. That's the science. That's the reality. And our bodies are energy that need to move, and our mind experience is energy that needs to move. It all filters into the body somehow. It's hormones, it's heat, it's tension, it's resistance, it's pleasure or pain. But it will show up here. And it's energy and it moves. So let it move. Let it flow. And then let it go. And then feel the quiet. Feel the stillness. Just to see what that feels like. Because there's a sensation to stillness also. So what does movement feel like? What does activation feel like? What does repression feel like? What does that tension, that resistance feel like? And what does safety feel like? A colleague asked me very recently, why is healing so hard? Which I think is just such a beautiful, valid question that lots of people are asking. So I feel a lot of gratitude for that question. Thank you. And my default answer is that it's as hard as we make it. And I understand that that might not feel very compassionate. Yeah. So, whatever you feel when you hear me say that is good information to have. I want it to be compassionate. I mean for it to be compassionate because I feel it as excitement that maybe that will be liberating information for you. It was for me. For me, it felt good. For me, it felt empowering. For me, it keeps the journey pleasurable. And it is a journey, and sometimes it takes a really long time. But there is evolution always. That's how it works. There's evolution. And I like knowing how things work because I like it when things make sense to me and my brain and my psychology are like, oh yeah, we know this one. And that feels very safe. That feels comforting. That feels reassuring that, like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing. Being a functional human who's not miserable or sick or hurting. at least not anymore, then makes sense to me. Shit happens. Shit happens. And it might clutter up the room when it does. So let's rearrange the furniture. Let's stir things up. Roll around on the floor. Go for a walk. Breathe like you mean it. Take good care of yourself and see what that feels like. And then let me know about it, please, because I want to listen to your story. Yeah, let's do that. Thank you. I will see you next time from somewhere. It's supposed to be fun.